Welcome to the Lost Media Iceberg, Tier 1, Event Horizon Deleted Scenes. Event Horizon was a 1997 horror film directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Initially, the film ran for a little over 2 hours. This cut contained far more graphic violence and more gore than released in the final version of the film. But when Anderson screened this for Paramount, they were disturbed at how gruesome it was. Anderson felt that they weren't given enough time to refine the cut and went before test audiences way too early. Consequently, the test audiences were equally upset with the gruesome content, and the negative reactions led to Paramount forcing Anderson to edit the film down by 30 minutes. Specifically, all this extremely grim material. Not everything was lost though. Some scenes were available on the DVD release, but that was still very few. We do still have the script for the original version with all the violence that was cut, but most of the footage is just completely gone. The Beatles' Carnival of Light. The Beatles were easily one of the most popular and influential bands ever. With millions of fans, you'd think that not much would ever go unnoticed or lost. But it turns out there's one Beatles song, one of the 189 original songs, that we'll most likely never be able to listen to, Carnival of Light. Whilst working on the song Penny Lane, the Beatles were approached by David Vaughan to make a song for his upcoming event, the Million-Volt Light and Sound Rave. It took only a single day to make the song for it, Carnival of Light. One of the only mentions of the song is from the author of the book, The Beatles Recording Sessions, Mark Lewison. The song was described as having distorted, hypnotic drum and organ sounds, a distorted lead guitar, the sound of a church organ, various effects like water gargling is one, and perhaps most intimidating of all, John Lennon and Paul McCartney screaming dementedly and bawling out random phrases like "Are you alright?" and "Barcelona." When the song was taken to the event, it wasn't received very well. And well, no one even knew that it was by the Beatles. The members of the bands have acknowledged its existence, but haven't released the song yet. Since it's officially by the Beatles, all of them would need to sign off on it. Aside from their producer not wanting to, half of the Beatles are dead. So their families would need to agree as well, and well, I doubt we'll ever get the full release of this song. There's some supposed versions on YouTube, but they're most likely not real. Fist of the North Star Uncensored Version. Fist of the North Star was a Japanese anime based on the manga of the same name, an anime which had 152 episodes and ran from 1984 to 88. Because of the manga's excessive violence, it was deemed unsuitable for Japanese television at the time, so the series ended up being censored. Many of the original uncensored versions of the anime made their way to international broadcasts though, but much of the uncensored still remains lost. The censorship got so bad to where the home video release of the movie ended up changing the entire ending. Instead of the bad guy getting finished off and killed, he ended up getting knocked out and the movie cut short. This was a bit different for the show though. Most violent censorship would have different tints to the footage or different shots they would replace the violence with. All of the censored versions of the episodes are pretty easy to find, but most uncensored are completely lost. Baldi's Basics Classic Remastered version .999 and version .997. These two versions of the Baldi's Basics Remaster are lost, or they're at least extremely exclusive. Both of these versions were only given to YouTubers to play. The only real difference is that instead of Baldi giving the player a present, it's a quarter instead. But yeah, the 97 and 99 builds are pretty much the exact same. Only a handful of people have gotten to play them though, and they were pretty big YouTubers, so I doubt that they'll ever leak it, and the creator of Baldi's Basics hasn't said anything about it. So these two versions are, at least as of now, completely lost. AKA Cult Tunes. Cult Tunes, also called AKA Cult Tunes, was an experimental comedy show that aired on Cartoon Network UK between 1999 and 2000. The show used episodes of old Hanna-Barbera cartoons and interspliced them with random clips of things like kung fu movies and other cartoons in a style pretty similar to YouTube poop, years before that hit the internet. It also had guest appearances, including the likes of the wrestler Macho Man Randy Savage and the London Towers basketball team. Most of these episodes are lost, but some are still around on YouTube. Like, I'll play this one for you.
My freeze paper didn't stop him.
Maybe my gravity powers will help to hold that thing while Meteor Man and Vapor Man try to finish it off.
What you talking about?
You can tell if you've seen a YouTube poop before. They're pretty much just the inspiration for that. Missing Minecraft versions. Minecraft has a very long history of different versions, to say the least. I mean, I remember trying my damnedest to make a fence and instead making a gate, and now you can fly around with wings, fight through ocean temples, and find an egg? Yeah, that update was kind of weird. But if you go back in time, and I mean way back, before it was even called Minecraft, and before it was called Cave Game, well, this was Minecraft. Or should I call it Ruby Dung? Yeah, terrible name. And looks nothing like Minecraft, but this is technically the first version of the game, inspired heavily off of games like Dwarf Fortress, that were isometric, but after seeing a game called Infiniminer, a first-person game that looks pretty similar to what we know as modern Minecraft, Notch decided to make this Ruby Dung a first-person game. And, well, Ruby Dung is lost at this point. Way lost, I don't think we'll ever find that. But there's some more versions back in the classic era of Minecraft, or Cave Game, that are completely lost. Many early versions are lost, but there are a couple that stand out. The first lost build is build 0.0.9a. You can tell this is pretty much classic Minecraft, except the message at the bottom there for needing Java. Not a whole lot different, but it gets really interesting in the next build, build 0.0.11a. This early video of the build, and the only footage we could find of it, to our knowledge, shows the first ever recorded man-made village in Minecraft. For the world's best-selling game, okay, yeah, Tetris is technically it, but who cares? I'm not sure there's many more important pieces of media that are nearly as significant. I mean, these villages have become such a massive part of the game, and I mean, building as a whole is the whole game, so this feels like a massive part of history that's just lost. There were some other builds that are lost as well, like the introduction of water and lava in a build, but past then, it pretty much just is the standard Minecraft progression, and not too many of them are lost. Unreleased Coldplay songs. Coldplay, just like the previously mentioned Beatles, are massive to say the least. Not nearly to the same extent, but you couldn't go a single day in the early 2000s and 2010s without hearing at least one Coldplay song. So with how massive they were and how many songs they made, there were quite a few unreleased songs that we'll most likely never get to listen to. There's some unreleased ones that they've played live, like this massive list. Yeah, a lot. But what's really crazy is the completely lost ones. Ones that were never played live. Yeah, I couldn't even fit this whole list in a single screenshot with how zoomed out it was. You just wouldn't be able to read it. But yeah, this whole list of unreleased and lost songs beats a lot of discographies of most musical artists in general. I Wish You Well. Speaking of unreleased songs, I Wish You Well is a partially found unreleased Imagine Dragons song. The only footage of them playing it is 14 years old and pretty low quality to say the least, and it's extremely hard to even make out what they're saying, but this song is technically no longer lost. Again, very weird for such a massive band to just not have any recording of it. Family Guy Online. Like most MMOs out there, they will eventually die. From Star Wars Galaxies to Lego Legends of Chima Online, all of them eventually stop being playable. But one that I've never heard of is Family Guy Online. Not much is known about this game, aside from that it used the typical MMO character classes, such as Stewie being a ranger, Peter as a tank, and Lois as a healer. Players would create their own character, using the Griffin family as a template, but the actual characters from the show were reserved for NPCs to give the players quests. The NPCs in the game were actually voiced by their real actors, but as we'll see soon, I doubt they were paid very much. The game was launched April 17th, 2012 as a public beta, but never moved out of that beta. As on December 21st, 2012, an announcement posted to the Family Guy Online website stated that the game would be permanently closed January 18th, 2013. So the game didn't even last an entire year, but I mean, hey, there's a lot of MMOs that release nowadays that somehow still do worse than that. Metroid Dread Early Builds. Metroid Dread was released in October of 2021, so you'd imagine development and ideas for it started maybe 3 years prior? Heck, maybe 5? No. Let's go back to the year I was born. Right before E3 2005, a document from Nintendo got leaked showing off some of their upcoming DS titles, including Metroid Dread. Gaming magazines and websites reported on this, setting off a wildfire of speculation and hype. However, Dread was a no-show at the event. In 2006, the game was officially announced in the official Nintendo magazine, given a release date of November of that same year. As the issues progressed, the release date turned into a to be confirmed, and to urge readers to stay tuned for E3 to learn more. But nothing came of this. In 2007, attention was brought to a potential Easter egg in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, where the player can scan a terminal in the Metroid processing room, which gave them logs referencing Metroid Project Dread and how it was a failure. The public believed this was referring to Metroid Dread and that the game had been cancelled. But later that September, Nintendo denied these rumors. The director of the game also stated it was just a coincidence. Right before E3 of 2009, Nintendo R&D had readied a prototype to be presented to Nintendo's other divisions. Ultimately, Sekimoto was not satisfied with the build and decided to not show it off at E3, and development was put on hold. The whole lost media part about this entry is, well, the prototype build. Still, to this day, there's really not many records of it aside from this specific instance. I doubt we'll ever get to play it, as many beta versions of Nintendo games are never released or never leaked even. But this story did get a good ending. This hold on development lasted way longer than they anticipated. Unlike a lot of games that get put on hold like this though, it actually ended up coming out. Widely regarded as one of the best Metroid games, Metroid Dread came out for the Switch. So after 16 years of production, it made a name for itself and it's here to stay. The Thing deleted scenes. John Carpenter's The Thing was released in 1982 to a somewhat modest box office return and mostly negative reviews, with criticism aimed at its gory violence, underdeveloped characters, and its nihilistic tone. However, the film was met with praise many years later for this same exact reason, having gotten a cult following. It's since been labeled as one of the greatest science fiction horror films ever made. During post-production, though, several scenes and fragments of the film were completely cut, some of which have gotten to home media, posted online, or got into TV runs in the late 80s, which also features a narrator for some reason. But these bits on TV were significantly lower quality to the theatrical version, due to the editors having to change the aspect ratio to 4:3, where it's just this box shape. Most of these scenes that were completely cut or somehow got into the TV version were cut for being way too violent and gory. A massive portion of the original version is completely lost, and many scenes were cut, never to be added back in. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll ever see these scenes make it back into any director's cut or anything. It's simply been too long, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were fully lost. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this one was way shorter, but I'm gonna try to do weekly videos. I'm gonna try my best. One last real quick entry though. There's a show called Moral Oral that my girlfriend really likes, and there's an entire Lost episode on YouTube. That's in the description. But yeah, have a great rest of your day, week, month, and I'll see you in the next one.